Hey you guys, welcome back. Today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys my winter foundation routine. This video is going to be all about having glowy, luminous skin during those cold winter months. Let's just go ahead and jump into the video. I think definitely the most important thing when it comes to having any type of foundation routine is definitely skincare. You want to make sure that you're putting down good skincare on your skin, you're taking care of your skin, you're moisturizing, you're hydrating, making sure that your skin looks fresh and plump, especially in the winter time. I know I've mentioned many times before, I am very oily, especially in my T-zone. For whatever reason, my skin has totally done a 180 in the last just couple of weeks. I am very, very dry right now. I'm not even hardly oily in my T-zone like I usually am. I like to make sure in the winter time, especially when my skin tends to get a little more dry, that my skin looks very fresh and luminous. Now, I always like to go for a full coverage look, whether it's summer, winter, fall, spring, whatever. I'm here for the full coverage. But in the winter time, especially when I'm a little more dry, I don't want my skin to look cakey. I want it to look luminous. I want it to be glowy and fresh looking. I definitely want to look like I have some life to my skin, especially since the cold weather just sucks the life out of you. Most important thing we're going to start with is moisturizer and under eye cream. Now, my favorite under eye cream, I've been using this for probably going on 3 or 4 years now. I've gone through a ton of these, is this one right here. This is the Olay Ultimate Eye Cream. I go back and forth between this one and the CC cream. I love the CC cream especially because it's very brightening. It does add a lot of brightness underneath your eyes. If you have an issue with darkness under there, dark circles like I do, I love to use that one. This one is awesome at keeping your under eyes hydrated, and it's Olay. Olay is a decent price range. It's not too up there in price, but it's also not super cheap. I feel like Olay is one of those like staple skincare brands. If you don't want to break the bank or you don't have a ton of money to spend on skincare, Olay is incredible. I actually already have my under eye cream on, so we're just going to move into moisturizer. What I've been using since I've been so dry this winter is this guy right here. This is so good. I love this stuff. This is the Neutrogena Hydro Boost Gel Cream, and this is for extra dry skin. It's a very gel-like consistency. It sinks into your skin very quickly, but it won't make your makeup move or anything like that. My grandma actually got me into using this. I know I mentioned this. My family was in town from overseas, so when they come and visit, they stay for like 3 weeks to a month or so. So I was just basically living back at home while they were in town, because I live about an hour away from my grandma's house. And so I was staying at her house, and I forgot all of my skincare, of course, because I'm not organized whatsoever. I started using that, and I just noticed such a big difference in my skin just in the couple of weeks that I was using it. She actually gave me her jar, and I'm just obsessed with it. I'm loving it right now. It makes my skin feel so soft and supple. After we have our moisturizers and everything down, we want to move into primer. I typically tend to go for a more mattifying primer in my T-zone. For the rest of my face, I like to go for either a pore smoothing or a luminizing primer. Now, I've mentioned this one before. This is the Nip Fab Micro Blur Fix Primer. This is just a little too matte for me right now, so I can't use this during the winter time while my face is a little more on the dry side. So instead of going for a mattifying primer, I've been going for more of a luminous primer, and this is my favorite, one of my favorite like OG primers of all time. This is the Smashbox Radiance Photo Finish Primer. I've been using this for years. This is actually the reformulated version, and it's still just as good. I still love this primer. It gives such a beautiful glow to the skin, but it doesn't make you look greasy or oily. I'm just going to put this on the outer perimeters of my face where my skin is either really dry or more on the normal side. And for my T-zone, I'm going to go in with a smoothing primer, and this is the Makeup Forever smoothing one. I ran out of the full-size one, and I got this little baby one with my points. It's so cute. So I'm gonna focus this just in my T-zone. I have some dry patches down here on my chin and in this part of my face, so I'm gonna take this and just put it right over where my skin is really dry in this area. I'm just gonna put it right on top of the luminizing primer. It's going to help cover up texture, but it's also going to help control your oils just a bit. It'll help keep your skin more on like the natural satin looking side. Moving on to skin, I'm going to be taking this foundation right here. This is the Wet n Wild Photofocus, one of my favorite drugstore foundations ever. It's so pretty, and it looks so natural on the skin. I love this because it's full coverage, but it also doesn't cling to any dry patches. It just makes your skin look beautiful, and it's so natural looking. It doesn't make you look cakey whatsoever. I'm going to take a couple of dabs. The key to making your skin look nice and flawless and luminous, but not too cakey, is definitely going in with a light layer of foundation. You don't want to go in too heavy because it's just gonna make your skin look cakey. Also, using a sponge like a beauty blender, or for example, I use the L'Oreal beauty sponge, that's gonna help keep your skin more natural looking. If you have an issue with cakiness, or you use a really full coverage foundation but you like to use a brush, try using a beauty sponge because it will soak up that extra product and help you look less cakey. Another trick that I like to do if I really want to go for a very dewy, luminous, like I just want to be glowy goddess type of look, I like to go in with some type of illuminating facial drop, and my favorites that I love to use are these. These are the Sephora Luminizing drops, and I like the Ultralight one. This is more of like a golden shade. I'll just put a little tiny drop in there, mix it on my hand, and then I'll go in. And just that small little drop is going to help add such a nice glow to the skin. Every time I do my makeup, Charlie thinks I'm leaving him. He'll just sit and guard the door so I can't get out. Like as if his little 5-pound body is going to really stop me from leaving. Let's move on to concealing the under eyes. When I'm going for more of a fresh, glowy, luminous look to my foundation, I don't like to go in very heavy-handed with the concealer. What I do, instead of going in with just 10,000 coats of Shape Tape all over my face, I like to do a little bit of color correcting, and this is going to help minimize the amount of concealer that you're going to use. This is my favorite corrector. This is the Maybelline Master Camo in yellow, and this is also going to help brighten the under eyes so much. You see such a difference when you use this. This is also very lightweight, so you can go in heavy-handed with this. I take this just under the eyes. I don't use this anywhere else on my face. You'll see when I blend this out, it blends out very naturally, but it still adds that brightness underneath the eyes. And I take this up into the corner so there's no darkness peeking through. Take it down to the center of the face so I look more awake. Whatever I have left over, I'll dab it on my chin, take it down the center of the nose. If I want something a little more lightweight or natural looking, I'll just go in with my corrector and pounce it on the rest of my face with whatever I have left over from under my eyes. That way my skin doesn't look too heavy. Going in with my Shape Tape, this is the shade Light Sand. I'm just going to take some little dots. We're going to keep it as natural as possible. The next thing we need to do is go in and set everything. This is where we could be walking into tricky territory because powder could be your best friend or your worst enemy. Even though I'm dry, I still have to set everything because my cream products will move. Instead of going in super heavy-handed like I typically would, I always go in with Emphazise and Banana, but I'm going in with the lightest touch. I'm taking this really dense e.l.f. brush and I'm packing this underneath to set my concealer. I wish I could say I was one of those people who could just get away with putting on concealer and that's it. I didn't have to set it. That's just not the case for me. I have to set my concealer or it will crease and it will look horrible. I know that might not be ideal for everyone if you really want that very fresh looking natural skin and you just want to use cream products. That's totally fine. You can skip that step. Typically I go in with a very heavy hand, especially when I'm doing the under eyes. During the drier months, I go in with a very light amount of powder. Now moving on to setting my foundation. Instead of going in and laying on the powder like I typically would, I'm going to focus it just on certain spots of my face. I'm going to take this little brush. This is a Morphe G40 and I'm just going to take the lightest amount of powder. I'm just focusing this where I'm oily. My T-zone, my nose, right here where I have bigger pores. That's honestly all I'm going to do. I'm not even going to worry with setting the rest of my face because I don't feel like I need to. Moving on to bronzer, we want to have a nice glowy finish to the skin. And to do that, I'm going to take this bronzer right here. This is one of my favorites. It's the Makeup Forever Pro Bronze Fusion. I use the shade 20M and I actually dropped this and mine broke, if you can see, so I have to be really careful when I use this. I'm going to take a big fluffy brush. I love this bronzer. It gives you such a natural look to the skin. This just adds that nice glowy luminous look to the face. It just literally looks like skin and that's what I need right now. I'm not even going to go in and contour. I'm just going to move straight onto blush. I'm going to be taking one of my all-time favorite blushes. This is like an OG blush from way back in the day. This is MAC Warm Soul. It's such a pretty pinky bronzy blush. I'm gonna just hit the cheekbones with this. It just adds such a pretty flush of color, but it's not super shimmery. If you're in the market for a more natural looking blush, definitely check out the MAC Mineralized blushes. They're gorgeous, gorgeous. I have nothing bad to say about them. There was a point in my life where I used nothing but Warm Soul. I got this when I was, I think, 20 was when I first kind of discovered high-end makeup. I bought Warm Soul. One of the girls had recommended it to me, and this was my only high-end blush. I used the hell out of it. I used it every single day, probably 2 years. No joke, 2 years, you guys. I do still have it. I didn't even think I had it, but I do. It's so like worn out. This is in my back to MAC pile because it's empty, but look, I used it down to like the bottom. There's nothing even in there. I got this when I was 20. I remember being the age 20 because it was right after I moved to Texas, and I moved to Texas when I was 20. I'm 28 now, so I've had this pan for 8 years. I've been using it for a really long time. So yeah, that's my original one. Of course, I have a backup because it's my favorite. Let's move on to highlighting. The best part, of course, this is my favorite part at least. You want to take your highlight and put it in those precise places to make it look just right. I'm going to take this, one of my favorites as well. This is the Maybelline Master Chrome in Molten Gold. I'm going to take this fan brush. I'm not going too heavy-handed with the highlight. I'm going to take this and lightly dust it on the top of the cheekbones. I hate to say it, I know I might get crap for this. I hate when people just put highlighter all over the face. I think it's so unflattering. The trick to natural looking, beautiful skin, be careful where you place your product. Don't go in and go crazy and just highlight all over your face. If you have texture, or if you have acne, or if you have a pimple and you're just throwing highlight everywhere, it's going to accentuate the bad parts of your skin as well. So that's why you want to go in and precisely lay down highlight exactly where it needs to go. Don't go crazy with the highlighter. You also want to make sure that your skin looks pretty and luminous and it's flattering. You don't want your skin to look fake. I put a very, very light amount above the brow, and I'll do the tip of the nose very, very slightly, and then I'll do the bridge of the nose. I used to take my highlighter all the way down, and I actually picked this up from my sister. She did my makeup when she was in town, and she did just the bridge right there, and I actually like the way it looks more. This stuff is really pigmented as well, so I'll dab my brush and then dust off a lot of it. That ensures that I don't get too much product on my face. And then I'll take my finger and do just above the cupid's bow. The last step I like to do is take my facial spray. This is the Mario Badescu Rosewater, one of my favorites of all time, and I will literally douse my skin in this. And I love the way that this makes my skin look. It settles all those powders, but it adds such a nice glow to the skin. It makes my skin look so healthy. I just finished the rest of my makeup off camera, did my lower lash line, and put on some lipstick. And that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Of course, make sure you hit that subscribe button before you go if you want to follow me or whatever. But yeah, go ahead and subscribe before you leave. Like this video. Let me know what else you guys want to see. And I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye. Hell yeah, we about to take this way back. It's the freaking weekend, baby. I'm about to have me some fun. Charlie, baby. Give mommy a kiss. Can I have a kiss? Please? Excuse me. Thank you. That was so forced. This time. What? Why does it have a mind of its own?